You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton, here with you guys. Thanks for joining in, and thanks for joining with us on the podcast. Guys, we've got another great guest interview, a lot of great interviews this week for you guys. We have none other than Chris Drumheller on the line. So, Chris, what's up, brother? How we doing?
Oh, you know, living the dream, blessed and highly favored.
Amen, brother. I love the energy. All right, so a lot of you guys know Chris, and some of you guys don't know Chris, but if you guys are ever on Instagram and, digging with Drummy, my boy here, we've been buds on Instagram for at least a year, maybe 2 years now, and haven't been able to catch up in person, but we need to get you over to GIE or a live event or something, Chris. You know what I'm saying? Because the energy you have is contagious for sure, man. So a lot of these guys, they know you, from Instagram, but if they don't know you, why don't you take a quick minute or two, maybe get these guys up to speed about who you are, your background, maybe what your business looks like today, and just so these guys get to know you a little bit more.
Right, man, absolutely. Well, my name again is obviously Chris Drumheller. I was born and raised in Rockledge, Florida actually, but I moved here to Texas when I was about 5 years old, and I went through the whole growth experimentation, much like most people. But it wasn't until I was probably 8 or 9 when I was digging in my mom's flower garden. But back then, it wasn't usually a good thing. She was always getting kind of frustrated when I was doing it. But it was that's actually where my desire, man, was birthed to actually build or to create any type of flower bed design or hardscaping. Because I remember I was using like the little bricks that we kept on the side of the house to build flower beds, and so yeah, man. And it just slowly but surely over the course of my life, I'll leave all the personal details out, really, but just throughout the years, I just started to really develop a passion for landscapes, man, and even mowing. And when I was about, I want to say 19 to 21, somewhere. At that point in time in my life, it gets a little hazy. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Okay.
But that's when I actually went into. I started working for another company. Jay Shirley, he ran a company called Austin Gardens out of Coppell, Texas. And that was about when I was about 19, 20. So it was about 10 years ago, for those of you who don't know how old I am. I'm 30.
Okay.
Yeah, and I worked off and on with that company for about 6 or 7 years. That's where I really learned how to run a business. He shared a lot of information with me, and the passion for that industry just continued to grow. And then about 3 years ago, that's when I finally decided to just go ahead and business myself. I left on good terms with that boss. I shared with him my vision. I actually structured my business kind of very similar to how he had his business. He kept his company very small, 2 to 3 people. And here I am today, doing what I love to do, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Awesome. Well, really quick, we're going to break down Drummy's whole story here. We're going to hear from our quick note from our show sponsors, which is IsoTunes, and then we'll get right back into it.
Step up your hearing protection game this season with IsoTunes. Our headphones merge high-quality audio with noise-blocking earplugs. So ditch those hot and heavy muffs or upgrade your non-protective earbuds. Our newest release, IsoTunes Pro 2.0, offers 16 hours of battery life and is completely waterproof. Treat your ears to OSHA-certified hearing protection at isotunes.com today.
Awesome. We'll always appreciate IsoTunes sponsoring the show. You guys know I'm big fans of the IsoTunes products. If you guys haven't went to their website, isotunes.com or isotunesaudio.com as well. And Brian's 10 does save $10 there, which is awesome. Great value. And we wear the Pros 1.0s, and the Robin's got the Pro 2.0s. Mine have lasted me for like 3 years. So they've been great. And guys, if you're listening to podcasts or music, probably preaching to the choir here, right? But the IsoTunes are a great product. And definitely, if you got guys on your crew as well, hook those guys up. Make an investment into them. We always encourage that. And if you guys want to learn a little bit more about those, go to isotunes.com. Well, so you're doing more landscaping now instead of lawn care, or did you do some lawn care back in the day?
Well, when it first started, I tried to go for the home run jobs, man. Like, I was always looking for the big jobs, man. Like, for me, it was like the $3,000 to $5,000 range. Like, that's what I wanted, man.
Yeah.
And, they would come about once a month. I would get them. But slowly but surely, I realized that I was looking for those grand slams, those home runs, that I was missing the cash flow. I was missing the cash flow, the checks coming in, every day or every week or every 2 weeks. And so I finally realized that, man, dude, I need to get into lawn care. Like, I really loved it. It was therapeutic for me. That's one of the things that my old company, or my old boss that I used to work for, that was primarily the things that he focused on, was doing the lawn care and the property maintenance with the commercial industries, spraying weeds, trimming heads, so on and so forth, stuff like that. But he would only take on like some of the bigger jobs. They were few and far between. And so like, I kind of like lost my place, looking for those home runs. So I started to do lawn care.
Okay.
And then I got up to about 20, 30 accounts. And then the landscape design kind of took a back seat because, the more lawn care, man, one thing I learned about this lawn care nation, man, I swear, bro, like it picks up, dude. You get 1, you get 2, you get 4, you get 8. And just before you know it, you got more help. It's the grass doesn't stop growing. You know what I mean? Like just keeps going, bro.
Yep.
And, so I got into this weird little pickle of like, man, what do I want to do? Like, I love both, but I can't do everything. Like, I'm not Superman, you know, like as much as I'd like to think that I could do it all, like I really can't. And so I made a pretty big mistake. I trusted somebody who didn't really set a really good contract between the two of us, like no arbitration, no nothing like that. So I made what I like to call my $60,000 mistake.
Oh boy.
And I'm not proud of that. But I got out of lawn care, and then I switched all my gears back into landscape design. The hardscapes, the retaining walls, the paver patios, the flagstone walkways, landscape, flower bed design, stuff like that. The low voltage lighting, water features, you name it, I've done it.
Wow. And
that started to come out really quickly. So as of this moment, yes, like I am full-time landscape design and install, but I do have one of my main commercial contracts, a guy that actually has carried me through the last few years. I keep him, and I'm slowly starting to work my way back into lawn care because, to be honest with you, my heart is truly with the landscape design. It really is, but you don't beat just the therapeutic value that mowing brings to the table, in my opinion. So
sure.
I'm slowly working my way back in there, and I'll get there one day at a time with my best foot forward,
Yeah. No, I love watching you and following you on Instagram, and you're doing a bunch of landscape jobs. I really, really appreciate and I don't know, like you said, admire a lot of the work that a lot of guys do in landscaping. I don't do landscaping. Like I'm a maintenance business. I guess we do like mulch and like flower installs, but like that's not really landscaping to a big degree, in my opinion. Like I like the guys that do tear outs, plantings. They're doing landscape front, bed redesigns. Again, I don't do a lot of. Can I do it? Yes. Do I do a lot of it? Absolutely not. Because I worked with a guy for just a couple months. This was in like the fall, about 4 or 5 years ago, and we did a job once, and we were on the same job for like a week and a half, and some people like that. Because we were completely tearing out this whole front. We put in a bunch of retaining wall, like stones, and it was cool. It was fun. I mean, I learned about grading, and I'm hitting it with the rubber mallet, and and having fun. But after like the 4th or 5th day, I'm like, bro, we're still here. Like, and I was already doing my maintenance business. I've had my lawn care business for 11 years, and I got it because I was like running numbers. I'm like, how much you charge for this, and how much you charge for that, and I don't know. It was probably like a $3,500 job. And he probably had, I don't know, $1,800 of materials in it, and he made, $1,500, but it took like 4 or 5 days. And I'm like, and I was mowing, and I'm like, I'm making back then, like $400, $500, $600 a day mowing. I'm like, this is, like I was already like kind of doing the math. And so I went all in, like you said, I was half and half with like, well, maybe I'll do landscaping, then maybe I'll do mowing. And I just knew my lane, about 3 years ago. I just went all in on lawn maintenance, in terms of like, for our core business. And then we do some like commercial mulch. I don't do any more residential mulch even. But it doesn't mean I don't love what all you guys do. A lot of you guys that listen, you're not lawn care guys, you're landscapers. And, landscaping and lawn maintenance are entirely different, businesses and animals. Like,
yes, they are.
You know what I mean? So what was if you don't mind me asking, you can be as transparent or hard pass if you want, but you said there was a $60,000 mistake. What did you like try to subcontract it out or get another division? Did you get bit? If you don't mind me asking, what was the story with that?
No, I'll be 100% honest. No, you're right. You said it. I did try to subcontract it out. All my accounts. every last one of them. I think I had about 3 or 4 commercial accounts, and I think about had honestly, I don't remember off the top of the head, off of my head. I want to say I had probably like 20 commercial accounts. It was somewhere between 20 or residential accounts, 20 to 30 accounts altogether that I had.
Okay.
And the revenue, now it wasn't like gross profit or anything, but the revenue that business was seeing at that time from those accounts was roughly 60 grand.
Wow.
And that was crazy, for me, like little old me, I had it was my famous lake day. I don't know if you remember that or not, but I had a pretty nice marina on the lake. It was a 14-acre property, man. Like, and I was responsible for all the mowing, the spraying of the weeds, dude. It was beautiful. I mean, it takes your breath away every single time. And dude, it just felt like such a blessing for me. Like, how in the world, like how, like if there's a God in heaven, like how in the world do I get this? You know what I mean? Especially like there's a lot of my accounts, to be honest with you, especially for the guys that are listening and gals, like some of my accounts just fell in my lap, man. Like, don't get me wrong. I was a hustler. I had the mentality. I would go knock on doors and sell too, but a lot of my big accounts just fell in my lap. And so it got to the point, I had a 54-inch Kubota, a ZD18 diesel.
Okay.
But it was never really rightfully my mower that I had. It was actually one of the accountants that works at a ministry that I served on and entered the program back in 2014.
Okay.
And the side story, which we can discuss that later, not really now, but that's kind of where actually going into business myself, the whole idea, as far as the name, New Creations, and like going into business was really birthed, was back in the ministry. So she was the accountant for that ministry. And, I started to get these accounts. I got locked in a 3-acre commercial account, and I just had a little push mower, and I was like, hey, can we work out something? Because don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, I don't care if I have to work harder. I will always do what needs to be done.
Right.
Like hands down, 100% every single time. Would I love to work smarter? Yes. But sometimes the funds and the cash flow and the revenue doesn't really always match that. And so it got to the point where I was taking care of these accounts for about a year or so. And something happened on her side of the family where she basically needed that mower back. I was basically paying to use that mower, but if I may have big winky fingers, in quotation here, may have led a lot of people who have followed me to believe that was in fact my mower, but it was never actually my mower. I was just using it. It was somebody else's who let me borrow that mower.
Okay.
So it got to the point where she had asked for that mower back, and it was a good thing. It was an agreement that we had, a signed agreement actually that we had.
Right.
It was no big deal. I gave the mower back to her. I let her do it. I let her have it back, and then I started going and looking at finances, looking to finance a mower. And man, I'll tell you what, dude, I've busted my butt for the last few years trying to improve my credit. And I've come a long way, man. To be honest, I was at it was bad. I mean, I was like less than a 500. It was pretty bad, man.
No, that's all good.
Oh, dude, it was pretty bad. And so, I mean, I got it. I mean, I'm probably good credit now, just under 700. But you would think that, like, why is it so difficult to finance a mower? Like, even like 1,000 down, 2,000 down, 3,000 down. But I was getting no luck, man.
Wow.
I don't know what it was.
Okay.
No, I mean, I went through every manufacturer: Gravely, Wright, Skag, Kubota, John Deere, Grasshopper, Dixie. I mean, I actually, believe it or not, I know they're not making those anymore, but one of my dealers locally still actually sells them. And
okay.
I was just having no luck, man, no luck. And I didn't know what to do. I couldn't afford to drop $8,000 on a brand new mower. I just couldn't do it. I mean, it would have killed me. It may not have. Who knows? I'm not psychic. I don't know the future. But dude, I don't care who you are or how much money you make. Throwing away, not throwing away. It's poor perspective, poor term. But spending $8,000, it hurts.
Yeah,
I don't care who you are. It hurts. And I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And so I reached out with a buddy of mine who was going into business for himself, and he seemed like he was very promising, had a lot of rapid growth himself. And so we worked at a mutual agreement, like a gentleman's agreement, which shame on me. I've learned my lesson now, at least I hope I have. And we reached out a deal that I was going to pay him a certain fee for taking care of these accounts. And so we did. We shook hands. He went his way. I went mine. And by this time, let me also explain that I had probably 4 or 5 jobs on the books. And these were big jobs. These were installs that needed like every ounce of my attention, like every minute of every hour of every day it needed my attention, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was about a week or two. Well, a week later, actually, after him taking over these accounts from me trying to do my part, and, you know, when I had time, drive around the properties, you know, just, you know, get out, look real fast, trying to do my due diligence. Well, after a week or so, I started getting customers calling me, my residential customers. I had about 3 or 4 calling me for just what I would think is just the stupid mistakes, you know, like just stupid mistakes, dude. Like there was a 1 yard, and this lady was very picky, you know, and it was me trying to control my market. Like I wanted to get into the market where I could pay $45 a cut, you know, those type of people. Well, when you're in that type of market, then you can't make stupid mistakes. I'm sorry. You just can't. Like, this lady wanted her backyard, the grass mowed just a little bit lower, like a ½ inch lower. Don't ask me why. It's just what she wanted.
Okay.
Well, don't run your mower with the blades engaged through the front to get to the back, because there's going to be a giant little 21-inch push mower mark straight through the front lawn. Like, there were just so many stupid mistakes. But the final straw was my Lone Star, the Lake Day account. It was called Lone Star Lodge and Marina. I think it was in Pilot Point.
Okay.
I don't know, like 15, 20 minutes from where I'm located, actually. And he called me one day, and the second I answered the phone, I said, "Hey, John, what's going on?" He said, "Hey, man," and you know something's up, because you could just hear their tone. You know what I mean? You just know something's up,
right?
And he said, "Hey, man," and I said, "This was one of those phone calls, isn't it?" He said, "Yeah."
What's up?
It is.
Yeah. What do you say?
And he said, "Listen, man, I know things have been going on with you. I know you're trying to do the best that you can. You know, we've talked about this before, but your guy is just really not doing it." And I got fired.
Oh, wow.
Long story short.
Yeah.
If I haven't made it already. He fought for me as long as he could, but at the end of the day, you know, he was not one of the owners. I think they had like 3 or 4 owners, and the owners got together and just realized that the quality, and this was actually 2 weeks. So the first week was my residential customers, but in the second week, I had 2 of my commercial accounts fire me.
Wow.
And after it was all said and done, by I think the third week, I had all, with the exception of one of my commercial commercial clients, fire me.
Wow.
And that was basically my $60,000 mistake. And what I want to make very clear here is I don't want to come across as if the person who is blaming that individual for making stupid mistakes, because at the end of the day, I only partially did my due diligence. I wasn't on the ball. I wasn't driving around all the time, you know, constantly coming behind and making sure things were being done.
Sure.
And so I assumed if not all of the blame, you know, because I always believe leadership, like production is a reflection of leadership. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if I wasn't behind him doing my job, then I can't honestly, in good faith, blame him for not taking care of these things, man. Because it's like employees sometimes are like kids, man. They're always trying to get away with stuff if you ain't looking.
Sure. Well, these sounded like anchor accounts, though. These weren't like a, you know, $2,000 a year residential account. These sounded like anchor accounts for you, like 10, 20, 30.
Oh,
grand.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. My Lone Star Lodge and Marine account I think it was a $22,000 account.
Yeah. I mean, those are big accounts.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a, you know, 6-figure business or 250 grand a year, I mean, that's taking a 8, 10, 12, 15, 20% hit, you know, wherever you're at. Yeah. And we have a couple like that. And, you know, people are always like, "Oh, why do you have, you know," I know some guys, they have 10 commercial customers, you know, like literally that they do 10 commercial clients and each account's 25 grand. And I'm like, cool. I said, but what if like you lose one account, like you just lost 10%, and like, you know, people like commercial only or die, or like residential only or die. And I'm like, well, you could make more money in commercial than residential, although that's like extremely debatable. But for me, people like, you know, always wonder like my business model. I'm like, well, I've got like 85 residentials. I've got a half dozen commercial and 4 HOAs. I had 6 HOAs, and I canceled 2 because they were pain in the butt. But I'm like, look, if the residentials are paying, the commercials are paying. Like, if the economy tanks and the commercials dry up, I got the residentials. If the residentials dry up, I got the everybody's going to pay their HOA dues, or at least the work is going to get done, and the HOA can go broke. Yep. So, but you know what I'm saying? Like these, I same thing with snow. I know some guys, they only do commercial snow, and then I know other guys, they only do commercial residential. I'm sorry, residential snow plowing, and they do. Other guys only do commercial snow plowing, and I'm diversified. I'm like, I got my prepays and I got my per pushes, and I'm just I know me personally, so I'm a very like diversified income kind of a guy, and so that's why I was just wondering about these commercial accounts with you. So did this guy that you subcontracted, was he stealing your accounts or just not doing a good job, and then he just got them, basically all your customers just let you all go, and then you didn't really have time to salvage it because you were so busy? Or is that basically the whole context of it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you nailed it. Yeah, I don't think he really moonlighted any of my accounts. He might have.
Okay.
I don't really know.
Yeah.
But it was just, he was just only doing like a third of the work, man. Like he would only go out there and just mow. He wouldn't weed eat or edge anything. And
wow.
He was always, he had his own stuff too. But I mean, because of the accounts that I had, I mean, I was paying him pretty handsomely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like probably more than I should have. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like at the end of the day, I could care less if I didn't even make any money. And what I cared about was taking care of my customers.
Right.
That's what I cared about. And there's just a lot of the work just wasn't getting done. And before you know it, it got too far out of hand. I just couldn't even salvage it. It was just the ball was already rolling too fast down the hill.
No, I mean, and by the way, like, I mean, I appreciate you sharing the story, because I mean, a lot of these guys listening in, like, we're all learning life lessons together. I mean, I just had Mitchell's lawn care on the show earlier this week, and Mitchell was talking about he grew a bigger company, and he was doing a couple $100,000 a year in revenue while still being a state trooper. But he was like, dude, he's like, I'm working 50, 60 hours a week with my job. And he's not like stocking shelves at, Kroger, you know what I mean? Or Piggly Wiggly, like he's a state trooper. He's got a lot of focus. And if he doesn't stay focused, he could get killed, you know what I mean? And he was saying the same thing. Like, he couldn't catch up with all of his guys all the time. And not that they were doing sloppy work, but he's like, dude, this is just a lot to manage. And so he just downsized. He's like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm going to just downsize, keep that quality control that you're talking about. Another gentleman we had on the show, Richie Plemons, a lot of you guys know Richie. He's another great dude, and he was talking the same thing. He had like 100 accounts, and he's like, you know what? I'm axing everything, going down to my 30 biggest accounts, and just less is more. And I am that guy. Less is more. Charge more. Know your worth. Do the same amount of work and make more, or do less work and make the same amount. That always sounds good to me. So how long ago was that? Was that 4 or 5 years ago? And then you started to transition to landscape enhancements, or what? No,
that was actually this time last year.
Oh, no, shoot. Awkward.
Yeah. It's still fresh, bro.
Still sore. I don't mean anything by that. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, is that a year ago or 5 years ago? I don't know. Because you're like, no, actually, when I'm done with this, I'm going to go over and go kill that guy. So, but I'm just kidding.
I'm going to go kill him. I'm just going to probably go cry for a little bit. Like,
I'm sorry. Well, what do they say? Like, talking it out is therapeutic,
Yeah.
I don't know where you're at in the whole, like, acceptance, denial, comforting, the 5 stages, whatever they call it. So you're maybe a little early for that one. So we'll just move on from that wound. No, I'm just kidding. But so then you started getting into you're doing the landscape installs and landscape enhancements. You were doing that the whole time, and now you've really focused on doing that. Is that more your passion? Like it goes full circle to when you were younger, or?
Yeah, it's like it's come full circle. And what's crazy about it coming full circle is because, I guess I should say this loosely. So when I say that, when I was younger, that's when I first developed a passion.
Okay.
Like it didn't really occur to me until one day. It didn't really occur to me until one day. Okay, when I was actually at the ministry that I was serving in out of Aubrey, it was called the Dent Freedom House. I was in the office. We had little dorm rooms. We had we had like 4 people to a little tiny dorm room.
Okay.
And back then, that company actually was my first company. I don't think a lot of people know about that. My first company was actually New Creation Landscape, and that was a partnership. Actually, we went into it with a partnership, and I'm sitting in that office. I'm sitting in my office at the time, and I'm going over this like hand-drawn rendition I'm like, I just got like this biggest smile on my face. And I don't know why. I was like probably listening to like some heavy metal or something, like Fit for a King, bro. Like I'm like a metalhead at heart, bro.
Okay.
And so like I'm over here smiling, and I'm just like, and it just got overwhelmed with so much joy. And that's when it hit me. Like I had something like literally be called to my remembrance, and I remembered the days when I was a kid. I remember the days when I was a kid, like always so desperately trying to like build stuff and dig holes, you know, and I was always either A, to make my mom mad, or to make her happy, you know?
Right.
So, and then not only that, but like when my father passed away in 2003, like I took up drawing. I started drawing as a way to like deal with the grief, and I got really good at it. And what was crazy is like, I didn't draw in pencil. Pencils for sissies, because you have an eraser. I ain't trying to make mistakes. I'm trying to get right the first time. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I would draw a pen, you know, I would draw a pen. And I would never make it. It's just so good, man. And then, literally in that moment, going back to sitting in my office at the ministry with my first business, it all came to blows. And I just remember like the joy that I had as a kid. You know, the joy and the peace that it would bring me to draw. And then I was reminded of all the years that I invested in helping, you know, my old boss like help build up his company, put structure, order to it. Mm-hmm. And it just, everything came to blows right then and there, like full circle. Like it's just a crazy passion. I don't even, to be honest with you, I forgot your question, so you don't have to ask again.
No, I said, well, is that where you found your passion for then doing the landscapes? Because I get some of these younger guys on here, you know, younger, like, you know, I don't know, 30 and under, and for a lot of them, it's like a creative expression, you know, and some guys, like I was talking to Evans Landscape, great kid. He's I think he's like in Minnesota. Minnesota or Wisconsin, Minnesota. And he's like, Minnesota. he's like, no, dude, he's like, Wisconsin. Yeah, my Boston and whatever. But he was like, on his podcast, he's like, no, dude, it's so creative. I love to express myself through it. And I mean, and it shows because he does great landscape design and paver patios and all this stuff. And then I talked to another young cat, Carson Shifsky, and I go, Carson, is it like the same thing for you with this and creative expression? He goes, hell no. He's like, I want the paycheck, bro. Like, he's like, I don't, you know, he's like, I don't care about doing some landscape install. He's like, the customer wants it, and I'm going to make $4,000 in 2 days. He's like, let's make money. And, and not that, you know, Evan's like not making money, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's some people it's creative. Some people it's a means to an end. I you know, I probably fall somewhere in the middle, you know, like I enjoy making the money, and then I also, you know, a job well done. I probably am more of the let's get to the next job guy versus, you know, take 20 photos and put it on the gram, you know, despite what everybody thinks, you know. But what kind of landscape installs or enhancements do you do that you enjoy the most? Are you doing like you said, tear outs and replacements? Are you doing paver patios and walkways? I see a lot on Instagram. I'm looking through here as you were talking, and I mean, again, you do great work. So what's your passion right now with landscaping?
Okay, that is such a loaded question. I got to be honest with you.
Take it away.
I just love it. I just love it all, man. That's the truth. I just love it all. But I can tell you, if I'm answering your question honestly, what I love the most, dude, my favorite thing as a kid was Connect. I love Connect.
My people.
You remember Connect?
Dude,
you know?
I know Connects, bro. I had all the $200 sets. You know what I mean? Like the roller coaster set, the jungle gym set, the ball one, the cannonball one. I had all of them, bro. Like I probably that's probably why my mom's still in debt as a single mom. You know what I'm saying? But that's the truth.
It was like
right there.
Connects, Legos, and Hot Wheels cars. You know, like that was my three things, man.
Ratings and reviews. Each week, we take a minute to highlight your guys' reviews of the show.
Oh, man. All right. Well, good deal. Well, hey, guys, we're going to take a quick second and change it up just for a minute. Talk to you guys about some of the ratings and reviews which came in this week. Again, super appreciate you guys when you take time to leave these ratings and reviews. They go a long way. I know you guys hear me talk about them once a week on the show. One, it feels great to get a shout out. Who doesn't want to be, you know, talked about for a quick second and just say a quick thank you to those folks. But number two, hey, it really does help the podcast get surfaced, some social proofing as we call it, meaning when guys are scrolling through and they type in lawn care into the podcast, they might not even know we exist. This whole lawn care community exists. And when they stumble upon the podcast and they see 500 ratings and 400 reviews, well, that goes a long way to let them know that this is a good show, a show where they can get value. If you guys have been getting value out of the show and you guys want to reciprocate, do me a big solid. Leave us a rating and review. It goes a long way, especially for my iTunes people. We want to cover a couple here. We got Loco Lawn and Landscape. I've been in the industry for over half my life. After 10 years hiatus, your content has inspired me to get back in. He's got a bunch of accounts. He was making no money, and now he's making way more money, and he just loves the show. So shout out to Loco Lawn and Landscape. V12 Turbo, amazing, great topics, and very inspirational person, and very motivating for me to make me realize what to do better and to see what is out there. So we got V12 Turbo. Shout out to that gentleman. And then Taylor's Property Services. As a newbie to your channel, I like to say it has been some great content. I'm actually in the property services trade here in the UK, and a lot of your discussions have helped me to create and do many different parts of my business for the lawn and landscape industry. So that is awesome. Wanted to shout out Taylor. And then we got one more, Mark Q21. And we have, I am personally not a landscaper, but manage the sales and service department for a small engine shop selling both Exmark and Cub Cadet. I have a new appreciation for helping the commercial customers with both sales and service after listening to your podcast and all the details behind the job. See, that is cool stuff. Again, it doesn't matter if you're a contractor or you work for the companies, we're all in it together, and it's just really cool. I know how much I appreciate my dealer, and it's so cool to hear how much our dealer appreciates us in the field. So guys, if you haven't left a rating and review just yet, it takes literally 1 minute to do. Hopefully 5 stars. We really appreciate that. And then a couple sentences, just let us know how we're doing. We take all feedback, the good, the bad, the ugly. Most of it's been pretty good. We're very thankful, very humble about that. But you know what? If you guys have been getting value out of the podcast, do me a big solid. It takes 2 seconds, reciprocate, help a brother out. That's a personal request, personal favor. Just hit the rating and the review and let us know how we're doing.
Want us to read your review next? Let us know how we're doing, and we might just read your review on next week's show.
So you're a builder.
Yes. And so, like, honestly, I love the hardscapes because it's nothing more than big boy Legos.
Yeah.
Honestly. That's all it is. It's just dealing with blocks, building stuff. And I love the flower bed design. Flower bed design is what I tell people is my niche.
Okay.
I don't know why. And I think it's my niche because this is what I see. And I don't ever want to be the guy that would ever badmouth my fellow contractor. But
yeah.
And maybe it's because he did the best he could with the knowledge that he had at that time. Because to be honest with you, I'm still kind of that way too. Like I tell all my customers, like I've been in the industry overall 10 years. Mm-hmm. Things are not done today the same as they were. Things aren't even done the same today as they were 2 weeks ago, man. Like
right.
The industry is always evolving and changing. There's better new ways of doing things. And so for me, like the flower bed design is just a niche. So like I've seen every single time, man, like I'll tell you what, this is just the God honest truth. And if people want to rip my head apart, I've had worse happen. So
go ahead.
When I first, like my old boss, man, like I'm going to talk about him a lot because he believed in me and he gave me a chance when nobody else would.
Yeah.
And like, I credit a lot of where I'm in business today because of the chances, like the exuberant amount of chances he gave me, you know?
Yeah.
And,
this is the guy you were working for, the old landscape guy. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, so we used to do a lot of installs that even though I didn't technically know how to do them, something kind of felt weird and it kind of felt off.
Okay.
Like, and then he had a huge network too. So sometimes we'd be working down on a property, you know, he had his other buddy, like Wilson Landscape Design. That's another big company, like, you know, it's a small little big company if you follow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's just certain ways about things that just didn't sit well with me. And so, you know, one of the inspirations of me going into business was to do things right and to my way. But one of the big inspirations and reasons why like flower bed is like my niche and my go-to thing, man, because I feel like there's a lot of improper techniques.
Yeah.
Just basic tendencies, like understanding that when you dig a hole and you if you were to place that root ball, that whole plant, where the root ball is completely flush with the grade, as long as the root flare is above the grade, then you would be fine, right? Well, no, wrong, because you dig a hole, right? It's not a paper patio; it's still going to settle. So now that root flare is going to sink below the grade, and now it's going to be too deep. It's going to be a bowl. And not only that, I would see shrubs. I would see like Texas sages, man, planted literally 6 inches away from each other. And I'm over here thinking, like, do they not know that shrub gets 6 feet tall by 6 feet wide?
Sure.
And not 6. And so like, it just, man, I just had this burning passion in my heart, like to just understand things selectively. Like everything has a place. It's in its place. You don't want it to get overcrowded. You know, you want to be able to recorrect all the soil, because here in Texas, North Texas, we have a huge band of clay that runs all throughout North Texas. So it's just hard packed clay, man. But you got to dig all that junk out. You got to import good soil. Now you got to amend it, rototill the soil. And so, like, for me, like, that just became a niche. Like, I loved it so much to be able to create something. I got so tired of people putting down like a chop rock stone, you know, and they were all different sizes and they weren't always level, but they used the scapegoat calling it natural. And that just never really sat well with me. Like, the quality that I provide for a lot of my clients, I'm sure I could charge a heck of a lot more. But,
well, you know,
that's neither here nor there.
No, but that's the thing though too, man. We always talk about know your worth. I mean, if one more podcast says that, we're all gonna like vomit. But because like we beat that dead horse for about 7-8 months now, and I'm waiting for the next trending topic. You know, it used to be game changer, then disruptive innovation. Those are from the companies, and then for us, it was know your worth and know your numbers, which is fine and cool. Like, you got to, but. I mean, you know, by now I think we've all heard that, you know. Well, we're going to take a quick break here again from our show sponsors, which is IsoTunes, and then we'll get right back into it.
Step up your hearing protection game this season with IsoTunes. Our headphones merge high-quality audio with noise-blocking earplugs. So ditch those hot and heavy muffs, or upgrade your non-protective earbuds. Our newest release, IsoTunes Pro 2.0, offers 16 hours of battery life and is completely waterproof. Treat your ears to OSHA-certified hearing protection at isotunes.com today.
Awesome. We'll always appreciate IsoTunes again sponsoring this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. And guys, again, if you haven't checked out isotunes.com, we'll leave a link in the show notes where you guys can go and check those guys out, see what kind of products they have access to. They have the IsoTunes Free, which are like the little green earbuds that you can wear while you're mowing. Me personally, I'm more of a fan of the Pros and the Pros 1.0s. That way they have a little wire attached to them. So that way if one knocks off while I'm, mowing grass under a tree, they don't fall into the grass and can't find them. But a lot of guys love the Frees because if you wear them at the gym or while you're doing landscaping, entirely different story there. And again, Bryant's 10 does save $10 with those guys. And I think also you get free shipping. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure you get both, which is really, really cool. So without further ado, let's get back to Chris and hearing his story. But one thing that I do really admire, again, it goes back to I'm a lawn maintenance guy. We do some mulch, and I know how to make bed edges and redefine and having it like what do they call it? Like an infinity edge where the mulch just blends right into the grass line. Like I know how to do all these things, but that's really where it kind of ends. Like practical funny story. I was hanging out with my friend Mike one day, Bedell, and Bedell gets a shout out on every episode, but it's funny because he's a really good bud. And so we were looking at something, and I said something like, "Hey, dude, what's the difference between like a lawn care landscaper, something like that, versus I think it's like a horticulturalist?" And he goes, and we were looking at some like landscape, and he goes, well, what do you notice here? And I'm like, there's stripes on the lawn. It's fertilized. It's green, and we're good to go. Very, very topical. And he goes, well, as a horticulturalist, what I notice is this, the root ball that, the symmetry this, the choice of plants that. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, to me, it was just, again, two different lenses that we're viewing the same property with. And that's how I look at like lawn care professionals versus landscape professionals. I mean, I hold landscape professionals in really high regard because, like you said, if you don't do something correctly, you're going to mess up 3 other things. You have to know how has to be cohesiveness and some artistry to what you're doing. And by the way, I see it all the time too. I can't speak on the same wavelength as a lot of my landscape friends because I don't do landscaping, but I get a lot of the gist of things. And like the other day, really practical example, and you'll probably appreciate this based on what that story you were just sharing. I went to Chick-fil-A. We got a new Chick-fil-A right by us, and there's a bunch of like holly.
You're happy.
Oh yeah. I've been there five times in probably 2 weeks, which is ridiculous considering the fact that it's an hour and 20-minute commitment.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, if you guys know Novi, Michigan, some of you are local. There's a major mall right here, and so there's a whole orbit drive, boulevard, whatever you call it, like circle that circles the whole mall, and in Christmas time, this whole thing fills up. I mean, there's 20,000 people at the mall, right? Well, the Chick-fil-A line circles all the way around Chick-fil-A, circles all the way out down the road to the mall, and then it circles like an eighth of a way around the mall. And it still has, and the Chick-fil-A has been open for 40 days now at the time of this recording. So from, I don't know, what time is Chick-fil-A open? 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night. It's been 300 cars deep for 45 days. Always. Morning, day, night, doesn't matter, like nonstop busy. That's called good marketing right there. Considering
yeah, they got it down.
they got it down. And by the way, people are like, I can't find people, I can't hire people. Yet this Chick-fil-A has like 80 people on staff, and they figured it out. They're paying you guys a lot less. So, maybe there's some things that we can all learn there about culture and purpose and treating people right and valuing people. But then, here's another funny thing. On the other side, the exact opposite side of the whole mall and complex, there's a McDonald's, and that thing has 2 cars in it ever. So, you know what I'm saying? So like Chick-fil-A is doing it right. But the funny story to go full circle was I was driving through the first time, and like the sod was placed incorrectly. Half of it's dying out. There's holly shrubs everywhere and bushes where they're not like super salt. What is the word I'm looking for, Drummy? They'll die. They'll die. Okay, if there's a bunch of salt that when they go through the roundabout and around the park and the drive-through.
Oh, probably a lot of their like their herbaceous perennials or anything like that. Probably like monkey grass or whatever.
Yeah, dude, it's all garbage. What they did, it looks like crap. And I know that because one of my strip malls, it's all holly shrubs and arrowwood viburnum, and these things grow. I mean, I do a mid-season prune. They grow 2 feet in about 6 weeks, and it's like the most wrong shrub or bush to have on a property, and none of them are salt. They all get affected by salt. Yeah. So like if you plow a big 5-foot snow pile into the bed, I mean, it's going to be covered in salt for 4 months, and then it all melts, and it's like, and we lose 3, 4, 5 of them every year, and I'm like, welcome to the nonstop $400 annual bill to replace some of these shrubs. But it's like in a major landscape company put them in, and I'm like, are you guys retarded?
Yeah.
Like, this is the worst. Yeah. This is the stupidest, like, the landscape design, and it goes full circle to my friend Mike, because he's got an eye for that, and so I'm learning as I go through this. But again, I don't pretend to know what you know, and so when I see like your landscape designs and stuff like that on Instagram, I'm like, dude, that's badass. And it might be the most, trivial job, but to me, it's like an enigma. But I guess like you said, it kind of goes full circle to the Connects and the erector sets and Lincoln logs.
Oh, dude, yeah, it all fits together, man.
I know,
like, it's all geometry, man, in one way or another. Like it's circles, triangles, squares.
That's funny, bro. I totally, I really, really do dig like landscape design. And then the guys that make it like super artistic and artistry, like I saw some of your fire pit photos, like they look beautiful, and you're like, dude, like, it's a simple design, but to me, I'm like, oh my God, double tap, I love that, get the heart,
Heck yeah, bro.
And then I watch other guys that are like, next level, like artistic, and
oh yeah,
like we got a friend, Sean Collingsgrew, he's with Premier Outdoor Living, and the stuff that Sean puts together, you probably know Sean, he's a great guy in the industry, and I'm always like,
oh dude,
I'm like, how do you?
It's crazy. Like I started following him back. I mean, before he had 1,000 followers, man. So he's super responsive, pretty nice guy, and he's definitely one of like my top 3 of the people who do like the construction, outdoor living, and like the hardscapes. Like,
totally. I'm going to try to get out there. Hopefully this fall. We'll see what's going on, because I told him Liz and I we bought land, and then we want to build a home, and then. I'm going to build an outdoor patio and living space, but it's not going to be any outdoor living space, because I've watched these guys for I've been cutting people's grass in backyards for 15 years. I'm like, man, I know what works, what doesn't work, what I want, what I don't want, and Sean, I'm going to try to get him to come up and do a celebrity build out, or what, something stupid like that.
Dude, awesome.
Like that would be fun, like just to be a nerd, and not that I'm a celebrity, but you know what I'm saying. And he was like, I was explaining to him off the record, and he goes, he's like, I'm already there. He's like, just say when. And I'm like, shut up, dude. He's like, no. He's like, dude, I'll definitely come up there and help you out. And I'm like, oh, I'm like, all right, cool, man. So we'll see where that goes. But, a couple of other ideas or topics, man. While we got you, like, what's some lessons that you've learned along the way that you've had a career now for, I think you said maybe over a decade. So what's some takeaways or some things that you wanted to pass on to these guys? Like, you shared a couple of your mistakes, but any life lessons you want to share with Chris from 10 years ago?
Oh man. Yeah. I want to talk about fear and failure.
Ooh. All right. Open mic, bro.
When I first started,
yeah.
Oh man. Y'all grab some popcorn, get ready, because it's about to get serious up in here.
All right.
Man, fear is an anchor, man. Fear is such a heavy anchor. And what's crazy, like when I first, got on the whole Instagram, like I don't even really honestly know how I became like the journey of the Instagram, like how I've even gotten here today. Like remembering starting it is like super fuzzy, but right. I do remember there was no stories. It was just pictures. And then somewhere along the line, because I'm such an introvert, dude. Like it's unreal. Like I'm such an introvert.
Which is funny, bro. I don't get that with
so
you.
Funny.
I don't get that. People think the same thing with me. I'm like, no, bro, I'm an introvert. And then I go on Instagram and you're like, what up, dude? It's Chris, man. We just did this late. And you're all out there. And I'm like, I thought he's an introvert, but like we turned it up a couple notches. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's an outlet, man. It's social media has been it's been a major tool in my personal growth and development, to be honest with you. But fear, one of the big things I always tried to get on Instagram when I started to do stories, and what I talked about is the fear of failure, and the one thing I have learned is that failure is a prerequisite for success.
Amen.
100%.
That's awesome.
Like it's 100%. And people are fearful of even getting out and trying to attempt anything for the fear of failure. And like, I'm going to share a story with you. So, and I'll probably, in the next, 2 or 3 stories, I'll go back about the ministry that I worked in.
Yeah.
Because back in 2014, that's when I was found. And like, so if you guys don't know, or some of you who are listening do know, like I am a believer. I do believe in, Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. So I was found back in 2014 in that ministry. And I remember becoming an intern in that ministry, and I didn't really know, like, nobody really had a place for me.
Okay.
And so there was a guy over facilities, and I was like, he's like, man, well, they don't have a place for you, but what do you want to do is what he asked me. His name was Josh, and rest in peace. He's actually no longer with us anymore, but he passed away a couple of years ago. He's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I mean, I love landscaping. I'll pull weeds. I don't care. I'll sweat my ass off. I don't care. I'll pull weeds. I'll spray. I'll trim. I'll fix the drip irrigation. And he was like, so why don't you just do that? He said, if they don't really have a place to you, then create that space. He's like, if you want to be a groundskeeper, then just do it. And maybe they'll see that and they'll take that and they'll run with it. And I was like, okay, cool. So like for 2 weeks, I just went ham, bro. Like I went ham. I was fixing drip irrigation. I was mowing the lawn. Trimming trees. We had a huge like flood zone, like down the pasture where there's also a creek that ran through it, and there's a lot of trees. I went and cleaned up all the trees. Like, dude, I went nuts, bro. Like, if like I went nuts, bro. I had like 90 hours, didn't stop, barely sleep, just went nuts, bro.
Okay.
And like, there was one day, like, I was out working on the drip irrigation, and he walked past me, and he like literally walked. He got like a whole 5 to 10 feet walking past me, dude. And he kind of like shook his head and came back. He's like, "Hey, Chris, hey man, like, can I tell you something?" I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Listen, man, you got like probably one of the greatest work ethics I've ever seen." And I said, "Okay." He said, "But can I tell you something?" And first of all, anybody, if you're following the context of this story, it's like, okay, great, yeah, sure, let me, okay, yeah, fine. You tell me what you think. I'm all ears.
Yeah,
even though I wasn't really receiving it. And he's like, but you're always working by yourself. That's what he said. It's like you got one of the greatest work ethics I've seen, but you're always working by yourself. Now we're at a ministry that these men come into the home, and it's a discipleship program. They get in this Bible boot camp, is what I've told people.
Okay. For
the last 6 years or so. But we have a time that is work detail, where these guys basically are just handed out simple daily tasks, like push mowing, just anything that's going to help them like redevelop those life skills and also teach them responsibility and work ethic. And so he's like, dude, we have guys, in the whole 2 weeks, you never asked me for one guy. He's like, why is that? He said, you know what, but don't ask me that. Let me ask you this. He said, how did you get as good, or how did you get to know what you know now? And then without even thinking, just out of the abundance of my heart, just like subconsciously, I just said, well, it's because I failed 1,000 times. And that's when it hit me. And he was like, exactly, dude, you can't be scared, because these guys are going to screw something up and that they're going to cost you money, because you want them to learn too, don't you? And for the first time in a long time, up until that point, I didn't really have anything to say, because he's 100% right. There's certain truths in this world that you can't really argue, with. Like, I guess you could, but it would just prove how stupid you look. But if that's what you're going for, then hey, who am I to judge, right?
right. That's true.
And so, like, that saying, man, I've taken that and I've run with it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not fearful. I'm not scared at times, because, dude, I just sold a concrete overlay job, man. We're ripping up a whole bunch of synthetic concrete. We got to demo it out. We got a whole bunch of concrete to cut out. We got to dig it out. We got to put in new drain lines, pour new concrete back. We got to grind it all down, level it out a little bit. Then we're going to be putting flagstone. Dude, it's going to be dope, man. It's going to be dope. And I haven't done something of this magnitude. And yeah, it makes me nervous and I'm scared. But like, I know that I've surrounded myself with a whole bunch of people. And a side note, like, I challenge any one person that I can show you your net worth by your net worth. Like, who are you choosing to surround yourself? I got a community and a band of people everywhere, online, people that I've met, that I don't have to worry about being judged or embarrassed because I'm asking a question that, you should know. Like, no, man, like, people who are truly in this together, like, do they just want to help, And so, like, yeah, it makes me a little bit nervous, but it doesn't stop me from doing anything. And so everyone who is listening right now, if you're scared to do something, suck it up, buttercup. Just go for it, because you're going to fail. But when you fail, man, honor those mistakes, man. Make it right. I've always told people, man, do the best you can with what you know. Because nobody's perfect. God is perfect. I don't know everything. I know a lot, sure. But, man, I can tell you how much I don't know, and that most certainly outweighs what I do know.
I love it.
Yep.
Well,
and that oh, dude, oh my God, I'm fired up, bro.
Well, that's why I love this stuff, man. I mean, I'm like, I just give open mic. I don't even want to talk. I'm like, we were joking earlier. I'm like, yeah, dude, the idea of an interview is for you to do 80% of the talking. You're like, really? You're like, I thought it'd be the opposite.
Who would have thought?
I'm like, no, man. Yeah, right. I was like, no, dude, these people hear me talk all freaking day. They're tired of hearing what I have to say. I'm like, you talk, and you're like, I don't know if they're ready. I'm like, trust me, man. They're ready, man. They're hungry, And
That's good.
I love what you said, man. You're so right. What's the old acronym for fear? Like, false evidence appearing real. So, like, it's like the boogeyman. It's a ghost, man. It's like you're afraid of messing up, and sometimes the anxiety and the stress that you make it out in your brain, is 10 times worse or 10 times bigger or 10 times more paralyzing. You know what I'm saying? Than the actual thing. Like, for example, like you're on a diving board or whatever, and like you're about to jump off, and if you just go, you wouldn't even have time to think. But if you get to the edge of that diving board and you start bobbing up and down, and you got 1 foot over, and it's like, and then you're like, I'm going to turn around. And there's so many examples of that where you just gotta jump in and go for it, man. And my wife and I, you might have heard this on one of our episodes, maybe not, but I had one of our episodes I talked about in our old apartment. Liz had something that she framed. It said, "Fear kills more dreams than doubt ever would, or doubt ever will." And and I looked at that because I had to walk. As I'm walking out the door, we passed the hallway where this thing was framed up, and I mean, I didn't look at it, 2,100 times because we lived in this dumpy ass apartment for 7 years. But I did look at it subconsciously, 4,800 times, 5,000 times going in and out of the house, every, 4 times a day for 7 years. You know what I mean? And so in my brain, like I'm like, no doubt, no fear. Like, do I have doubt? Yeah. Do I have fear? Yeah. But my faith has to be bigger than the doubt or the fear. And so you can't let that fear paralyze you. You know what I mean? Yep. And what you're talking about is so good, dude. It's so good. Like, and I think you were saying something earlier, like fear is, or not fear, but failure is like the prerequisite to be successful.
Absolutely.
I think so many people. There's an old salesy book. It's called Go for No. A friend of mine was in network marketing, and he gave it to me because he said it helped him out, and I'm like, dude, this is a solid book, and it had this like spectrum, and most people equate like success on one end and failure on the other, but it's really one end of the spectrum is what is it like? That you have to go through failure to get to success. It wasn't. Yep. It was like a timeline more than a spectrum, And I'm like, I never looked at it that way. And like you said, all my best lessons. I think Caleb Altman just said this on one of our episodes. He said all of my best lessons I've learned from failing, not succeeding.
Yeah.
And it's so good, man. It really is really a truism, like you were saying just a minute ago. And I love it, man. Well, what else you got? If you want open mic, maybe last thing here, we'll wind this thing down. But what else you got for these guys? With you said what your whole point just now was you got to have faith, you got to keep punching through, you got to learn things, not be afraid of fear and failure. Did you have some other things that you were alluding to? You said you had a couple other stories, or?
Well, I mean, dude, I got hundreds, but honestly, I was on a blank. But I do got one thing. Listen, I'm a man of many words, but I still draw blanks just like the rest of us too. But I saw a meme, not really necessarily like a meme, but it's like one of those positive memes, It said, many are on the brink of success, but quit just before they get there, or quit just before they realize it. And it was a picture of like it was a two-part picture. You had the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
And the top picture was a guy who was walking away with his pickaxe. That he just had like 6 more inches to go, man. And all he had to do was punch through, and the diamonds were right there, But the other guy, finally broke through and got to, live in the spoils, And so for me, I also work to a second story to help get to my main point here. I work with a buddy of mine, a very dear friend of mine, again, another guy who actually I went through the program with too as well, the ministry back in 2014, 2015 when I graduated. And he actually he does cleaning. He does make-ready, porter, common area maintenance, like a lot of the big major construction companies that you see that they're putting out these major apartment complexes or these huge offices. Well, he actually contracts out through the GC or the big dog,
Mm-hmm.
And whenever they get done cleaning that property, he'll bring his crew in, and then they'll clean everything down because it's just nothing but construction debris. If you've ever been in one of these things, it's nasty. Man. So they got to come in and really clean it up.
I see them across the street from my complex. It's all new construction last year, but they just finished 3 new 8 big apartment complex buildings right across from me. So like they're huge. I see all the cleaning crews there all the time. They're there with their wet vacs and. I mean, crazy amounts of hefty contractor trash bags. But anyway, we've all seen that. I don't wish that on anybody. So, but anyway.
Oh yeah, it's pretty wild. And what really works out for him too as well is because he actually utilizes some of the men from that ministry. Sure. He's got his whole business model, so he's able to have 16, 15, 17 guys out sometimes in these huge construction. Like it's a pretty good deal. And over the course of the last 2-3 years, he'll come across odd end jobs that he doesn't really feel comfortable with his guys, and it's like a win-win for me. It's a way for him to support me too as well.
Sure.
He'll come across. He also now does nuisance abatement and the high weeds and grass for all the local municipalities. For the cities. When your grass gets over 12 inches tall, you get that nice little notice on your door. So we get to be the bad guy, so to speak. But whatever.
Yeah, whatever. It pays.
He every single time, I think over the last couple of years, I think he's probably thrown about 9 or 10, 11, 12 jobs my way or so. I mean, it's like once every 2 months or so. And he usually, will post it on his own social channels and stuff like that. And one of the last things that he posted, it meant a lot to me. Because he's a typical, he's a typical male. What feelings? What are feelings? I don't understand. Like, don't touch me, don't hug me, we're cool, it's good. Like, he's this old school cat, man.
Yeah.
And one of his last posts, I was just like, he said something really nice, and I was like, oh, that's kind of sweet. He said, it's hard to you can't count the guy out who never quits. Or it's hard to beat the guy that never quits.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think, like, dude, I know there's every single person who's listening to this right now. I know for a fact if you're not there, you have been, and if you haven't been there, you will get there.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to want to quit. you're going to get tired. You're going to hurt. It's going to suck. There are going to be bad days when you want to say F this, F that, F everyone, and just be done with it.
Yeah.
You know, just go back, work for the man. You know, like it's just so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and one of the other things I just kind of wanted to talk about is just like, I know it's such a cliche and I know it sounds cheesy and you've heard it all a million times, but to not give up, man. I mean, if you know in your heart everything, and if you know truly in your heart that it's something that you want to do, then it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Mm-hmm.
When are these storms going to come in your life, and what are you going to do to prepare for them? You know, is it just making sure that you just stay, you know, attached to the vine, you know, like, you know, spiritually? Do you just stay in a community with your church? I mean, or do you have your goad, is what I call the person who knows how to poke you just right, but it's always poking you in the right direction, you know, in the right way? Is it your best friend? Do you have a good relationship with him? But who is it that you're surrounding yourself, that when you hit these storms, you're not by yourself, you know, that you're not alone? Is it a community over here on social media? You know, is it the landscapers, hashtag landscapers of Instagram? Like, what is it? Like, what are you doing to prepare yourself for when you become weary? Because you will get there. And much like for myself, for me, like, what I do is I just have to remind myself that sometimes it does have to get worse before it gets better. I love watching Andy Mulder. He's one of my top three. Like Caleb Ballman, Andy Mulder, and Sean. Like those three guys. I love watching those three guys. They're all three different, and they all come from different walks of life. But I love watching them. But Andy Mulder one time said something that, well, I'm also going to give my boy Stan Genetic a shout out here too. He don't really need one. Everybody knows who he is.
Right.
I've been watching him and Eric Triplett for, good gosh, 10 years, dude. I mean, 10 years. Way before I ever even got on social media.
I was saying, like, Eric is he's a great dude. Eric Triplett. He's an undercard. I mean, some people know him, but actually a lot of people don't. And a lot of people are listening to his episode, and I got a lot of good reviews from that one. But anyway, great guys, man, for sure.
Well, if he's still listening to this, you owe me a sticker, bro.
right.
Just kidding.
Well, that's
but
good
he mentioned something. He mentioned Andy Mulder mentioned something. He said sometimes you got to sacrifice to win. And it's 100%, you know. And like it just made me kind of think about that. Sometimes when you're losing, maybe there's something that you need to sacrifice. Maybe there's something that you're holding on to. Listen, I don't really know what it is for you. I know what it was for me, like in those moments, you know, maybe it's stupidity. Maybe it's just the lack of not measuring properly, or just, you know, taking a healthy shortcut, you know, making a compromise here. Like there's some things that we're doing that you just get burnt out, you get tired, and you want to quit. And for me right now in this season, again, I can only speak for myself, but give yourself a break.
Yeah.
Like give yourself a break, man. Like I am not Superman. Like my pride will convince me that I can be everyone, I can be everywhere, I can do all things, and I'm gonna make it happen, man. And I spent the last 3 years just driving my ass into the ground, man. I know I don't normally like to curse, but this is Fullerton Unfiltered. So I'm gonna try and keep it real, like 98%. All right. And
you're right, though. Like, you're right. Like for a lot of us, it's faith, you know, but and accountability, or a friend. You know, dude, I've had bad days. There's been days I've shared a couple of my worst story ones on a podcast not too long ago, and I wanted to quit. I wanted to hang it up. I'm like, man, I'll go back to True Green right now and spray. You pay me $45,000 a year, and I've got no responsibility other than making sure my tanker truck is filled and I got my route sheet for the day. You know what I mean? Like, we, you know, sometimes you look over the fence and you go, man, make $50,000-$60,000 a year, and I don't want to say have no responsibility, but you can turn your brain off. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And,
100%.
There's been days where I'm shedding tears and I'm like, this is bullshit, you know. And then other days, I remember like 2-3 years ago, I think it was maybe like 2 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. I was hanging out with my friend Mike Bedell, and we were doing a cleanup, and he was getting his butt handed to him during these cleanups, and I looked at him because I was helping him out one day, and we were doing like frozen leaves on the ground. It's a Michigan thing. You Texas boys have no idea what we're talking about now, but here we go. We have frozen leaves.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I mean, leaves were
frozen. What are those?
Yeah. I mean, it was frost, and he was. I think I don't know the full story, but I think he was some of his customers were starting to press him a little bit. He's got some very high end clientele, and I just remember like we were in a trailer and like we both walked out. I remember like it was yesterday. We both walked out with backpack blowers on, and like you could tell he was really thankful that I was there helping him out. And I think my friend Brandon was there helping him out, and we're just billing out our bro. I think my cleanups were done, and Bedell's like, "Yo, I could really use a hand," and he's like a very proud dude, you know, we all are. And for him for me to ask for help, or for him to ask for help, like it probably means like, hey dude, like I'm kind of screwed. Can you help me out? You know? Because we're both like big, like we got it. I got it, you know? But I just remember like I felt something different about him, and I looked at him and I was like, bro, you okay? And he's like in the backpack blower, like, you know, and he's like, I'm good. Yeah, dude, good. I'm good. And he like walked away, and I get to the top of the driveway, and he like went to the top of the driveway to blow off this cleanup, and he turned around, and like I just like went up to him and I grabbed his arm, and he like looks at me, and I'm like, dude, are you okay? And like we were wearing safety glasses. It's 12 degrees out, but like I saw a tear come down his face, and I'm like, bro, what's up? And he's like, dude, I'm good. And I'm like, and he like kind of like shrugs and turns, you know, and I hope Bedell doesn't mind me sharing the story, but I grabbed him like he was trying to walk away, and I'm like, dude, what's up? And he's like, I just don't know, dude. He's like, this is just ridiculous. And he was just like, he said something like, I'm just sick of it, man. He's like, he's like, I'm doing the best I can. And people just don't appreciate you. And you know, dude, we had like 2 weeks of shitty weather, you know, like just frozen leaves, rain, freezing conditions, and customers.
This was last year, right? Or not?
I think it was like no, it was probably 2 years ago now. Maybe.
I want to say like I remember this kind of in a weird way, but
yeah, like
because it was just like the fall or the ice storm from hell. Like I don't really follow Mike too much, but I remember. Yeah. I remember for a while there seeing you and Mike and, you know, Brandon like all together. So I kind of put two and two together in my head. But anyways.
Yeah, it was probably 3 years ago. And, you know, he was just like, hey, dude, like he was like, hey, like, thanks for checking on me. Like, and we banged out, I don't know, 7 or 8 cleanups, and they were big cleanups. He has some really, really nice properties, and he's got to bring a debris loader because, like, you know, we're bagging, you know, 6 yards of leaves. I mean, he's got some really nice clientele, like he talks about. But I just, you know, like we got to care about each other, man. Like check in on each other, you know, like for me, like he keeps tabs with me. He shoots me a message. He's like, hey dude, just thinking about you today, man. Like, hope you're doing well. And I'm doing what you guys are doing, man. I'm on a mower. You might be on a mower right now. Listen to this. It's 91 degrees out. You're getting your butt kicked, you know, and you're like, man, this sucks. And like, if you're feeling that way, your bro is probably feeling that way too. Like shoot each other a DM, man. Check in on somebody, see how they're doing. Like, and by the way, he's done that for me because I remember one time I was in his trailer. I had a new client, and he's like, hey man, what's going on? I'm like, oh dude, this is going on, and I just like erupted into like a tear. And he's like, what the fudge? He's like, you all right? I go, I'm good. You know, like the whole I'm good, you know. And he's like, you good? And I'm like, I'm good. I'm like, dude, I'm just stressed out, bro. Like I got all this crap going on, and I think I was dropping off something to him, you know. And but you're right, dude. Like you gotta have some encouragement out there with friends or family or your wife or accountability partner. I think that's huge, man. And if not, you're just like you said, you're out there by yourself, and you know, what do they say? One can put 100 to flight, but 2 can put 10,000 to flight. So don't give me this crap where you're strong enough to be out there on your own. You know, like you take a coal away from a fire, and that coal is gonna turn gray, and it's gonna cool off really quick. But you get around that bonfire and you put that coal back in the fire, it's going to heat up in 30 seconds. And you got to have that hashtag community. And a lot of you guys that listen to, you know, like there's a lawn care community, but then if you listen to my voice, my community, we're tight. My community, we get along. My community, we care about each other, because it's not my community, it's our community. And I hope that permeates through the industry, man, because how many times you got to hear me say it? We're all in it together. And I do care about people, man. And I don't want to see anybody do anything off the deep end, you know, because this is it's a stressful industry, man. You can get a heart attack. And I care about my friend Mike. I care about my friend Brandon, you know, and I care about, you know, Drumheller. What's Drumheller up to, man? He's in Texas. Like, how are these guys doing? And I shoot DMs to people all the time. Hey, bro, how you been? People do it all the time to me. Hey, dude, how you been? So, not to get on a rant there to go down that, but you get me, like you said, man, you get me fired up too, and it always comes back to caring about people, caring about your customers, and caring about people, you know. And
you want to hear something cool?
Yeah, shoot, open mic, bro.
So this is something that I believe this with all my heart. In a business world, though, from a business mindset, from a growth mindset, it could probably be picked and pulled apart. But it's really for the person who is. This is the thing: people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care.
Amen.
And I have taken that with me in my business to every degree. So every single what's crazy is every time I go on a meeting or with a potential client, I don't say, "Hey, let's have a meeting at 6." No, I say, "Okay, let's meet from 6 to 7." Call me stupid, call me crazy, call me inefficient, call me whatever you want to. Just trust I've been called worse. I always give our time slots for that very reason, because not only do customers don't want to be sold, they want to buy. I get that. Like, don't waste your time just constantly just being annoying, trying to hound them and sell them like you've already lost their business and you don't realize it. But I always believed in marketing myself and being personable with clients, because people don't want a transactional relationship. They want a relationship. That's what they want.
Right.
And when a customer feels like they're getting a good value for that money, and they can talk to somebody that's not a robot, they care. But also to the same degree, the customer obviously needs to know that you know what you're doing. They're not going to drop $15,000 on a little 8x10 patio if it's going to come out looking wonky, because then that quote doesn't really mean much. But I believe that with my whole heart, man. Like, it matters. So every single time I go to a customer's house to discuss something, I introduce myself. I say, okay, well, what brings me out? I've seen your format too. I do pre-qualify customers for the most part. When they call me, I get just enough so I know that if it's going to be a total bust or not when I go out there and meet with customers.
Right.
And I will neither confirm or deny paying for consultations, because that also is another heated topic. Do you do free estimates? Or do you charge for your time? Well,
sure.
You know what? You guys aren't going to know what I do.
Right.
But really though, for anybody who's ever followed me or is listening to this right now and know me personally, to some degree, they already know anyway. So, then they'll come out there, they'll walk the whole property with me, and then they'll be like, so what do you think? And then I'll go over the whole project. You want to know, I usually end up talking more about the customer, developing a bond with that customer, than I actually do talking about what I got called out there to do.
Right.
Because what I got called out there to do, that can be translated in an estimate. That can be relayed through, the email that I send to the customer with bullet points discussing everything that we talked about. Like, I'm here again so the customer feels confident in buying a service from me. And that literally has got me. I truly 100%, obviously, it's the Lord. I'm gonna just give him all the glory and the praise, because I would not be in business to this day. I would not be a believer. I would not even be alive if I wasn't found to this day. But it's also my clients. Secondly, those are the true MVPs. Those are the people who truly, understand the relationship that I'm trying to build. Follow up with them, and those are really the people that keep me in business. So, man, just care. Just care, people. I get it. Like, you got to be professional. I understand. If that's your business model, great. It works for you. But what works for me is just really developing that bond with customers, like getting to the point where at the end of the day, they'd offer you a beer,
Yep.
That's the type of relationship I'm trying to have,
Drummy, I'm just letting you talk, bro. This is fired up. You know what I'm saying? Like, awkward silence. My legs bopping up and down on the stool. I'm just letting you talk because you're getting me all fired up.
my hands get numb, bro. My hands get numb. I can't feel my hand right now. All right.
You're all hot and sweaty. Holy Spirit's coming out, freaking out.
Yeah, my palms are getting all clammy, dude. Like, I just took my hat off, dude. Like, it's getting real out here.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Like, we're already at. We'll probably end on that because we're already at an hour and 10. I try to keep it like at an hour for these guys to because sometimes dude, it's a time warp. You know what I mean? You're like, how long is this? I'm like, normally an hour, and it feels like it's been 5 minutes. And you're like, dude, we're just scratching the itch. I'm like, and that's where we're gonna shut it down so we get you on part 2. So I'm like, that way you can I got more to share. All right, dude, let's do it on an episode 2. You know what I'm saying? But no, this is good. I really enjoy what you have to say. Again, like I've really been trying to let you guys talk as much as possible, give you guys the platform and just to pour out, because there's, again, dude, you're in Texas, I'm in Michigan. You probably can't get much further apart in terms of geography, and you're 4,500 miles away, 3,000 miles away, whatever it is, but you the truth is truth, man. And, we do truth instead of facts, right? I'm just kidding. Somebody's, I'm just messing. That's just so funny. Facts are facts, truth are truth, man. And what you're saying is really true. And I really respect you, man. Like, it's really cool to talk to other guys. I always tell you guys, like, I'm not above and you're below. Like, we're peers, bro. Like, I actually super, I don't say envy, but admire. I really admire a lot of what you guys do out there. And I'm not in competition, man. Like, I love learning. I love listening. I love just getting around the heat. And you guys tune in for this, but I'm tuning into you guys, and kumbaya all you want. But this is like fun stuff to me, man, because, if I'm listening to this while I'm mowing grass and I'm trimming, I'm probably taking my trimmer like a javelin and throwing it in the woods. I'm like, freedom, like, so you guys listen to this, probably feel the same way. You get all fired up. So, hey, I always tell people, like, any parting last, like, minute long thought that you got that you want to leave these guys. But if not, no big deal. Do you just take a second, plug your socials too, so these guys can keep up with you wherever they can find you.
Right. Actually, yeah. And one last little thought about giving yourself a break. Yeah, man, just give yourself a break. Like, I know I'm not I don't make a good habit of speaking for other people because I'm not you guys. I'm not other people. But I'm just gonna go ahead and speak for you guys. Okay, that thing that you just convince yourself that it can't wait, it can wait. Give yourself a break, man. If you're working 70, 80 hours a week, I know it seems impossible at times, and that may be just countercultural to what you're used to, but it's okay, man. Like, it really is okay for the people who are just burnt out, just give yourself a break. Like, we sometimes in the industry, like, forget we put on a mask at times. We put on that professional, we put on the boss mask, we put on that mask and just go, 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 go.
Yep.
But, like, that mask is only as good as your personal development and growth. If you're not taking care of you and giving yourself a break, then what good are you to your company?
Right.
You're not good to your company, man. And I realized that a lot of my customers, like, there may even be some who are listening now. A lot of my customers sometimes have suffered because I haven't been taking care of myself.
It's good.
And so just make sure you put your customers first. Do that, man. But put yourself first as well, man. So take care of yourself. Give yourself a break when you know you need to, and don't feel bad about it, dude. Don't feel bad about it. Feel good.
Right.
Feel good because you're sitting on your ass on a Sunday doing nothing. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Like, golly, it's taking me, I'm 30 years old and I'm still having to, like, convince myself that what I'm saying is kind of true. Like, I'm right there. I'm in the same, we may be in the, okay, you know what? I'm not in the same, we may be in the same storm, but, not all of us in the same boat. And that's a topic for round 2. But,
Amen.
yeah, it's been really awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. It's been a long time coming.
Next up, just make sure
you wear your hashtag called Drummy Socks. That'll be awesome.
I was gonna say I wrote that down my notes. I gotta end with that. I got the Drummy Socks. A lot of you guys, Drummy, man, you kill me here, bro. Like, a lot of you guys watch on Instagram. I'm a nerd like you guys, man. And I walked through my house with no socks on. Okay, I'm the barefoot guy. Like, I'm like Huckleberry Finn over here. And Drummy a year and a half ago sends me just a care pack. He's like, hey, I need your address. I'm like, I don't give out my address. Send it to my PO. He's like, give me your address, so don't be a dick. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I give my address, and I get these, because that's how Drummy is. He goes, give me your address. I'm like, all right, whatever, dude. Like, you gonna come kill me or something? Like, what? And so I get this package in the mail, and it's these, like, really cool custom hashtag digging with Drummy socks. And I DM him, like, what? I go, what's up with the socks, bro? He's like, dude, like, not wearing socks is disgusting. He's like, hashtag socks and hashtag team socks. And so I go on Instagram, I did a poll. I'm like, socks versus no socks. And I think it was like 55 team socks and like 45 no socks.
It was close.
It was close.
It was close.
I think you won. And I was like, so there's a whole, like, we're all weirdos out there. All you lawn care landscaper guys, all you people. What do you mean you? What do you mean you? What do you mean you people?
Yeah.
All Tropic Thunder, love it. But what do you mean you people? And but it's like team socks versus no socks. And my girl, she wears socks, and I'm a no socks. And
she's normal. She's normal, bro. Like, normal people wear socks.
I mean, I guess. I mean, I was laughing so hard, bro. So I do have the Digging with Drummy socks, and sometimes I'll wear them. I'll throw them on the gram. But Man, you guys troll me, man. I troll you. You know, we're all in it together, having fun. But I do appreciate the gift. I wore them all winter. I wore them in my Liz bought me the little what was it, like LL Bean slippers? You know, I don't know, but little things. And she's like, "You're wearing your drummy socks?" I'm like, "Shut up," you know. So because she just pokes fun, man. But we got hardwood floors, man. With this, I don't even know what this stuff is called. It's like the vinyl hardwood floor type stuff in this apartment. Yeah. We had the old, like, you know, shag carpet with like murder stains on it at my old place, and I'm just being real, and we had like the mystery stains, you know, and this place, it's got that like hardwood vinyl, I don't even know what it's called, and it's hard, man. Like, you walk on hardwood floors, it's because, you know, they didn't put any padding underneath it, right? It's like concrete, and so wearing socks and slippers like goes a long way in the winter because it's cold, and so. Jeremy, appreciate you reinvesting into us, man. We can always count on you. So,
hey, man, I'm just trying to look out for my fellow brother. That's all.
Hey, sometimes it gets cold. Why don't you send me a heated jacket too? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, don't push it now.
I'm just having fun. Milwaukee sends me enough of those. I'm like, give them to other people, man. I got enough of this crap. So, but all right, man. Instagram, by the way, I think you might have plugged it, but what's the Instagram? It's at what? Digging with Drummy.
Instagram is just at Digging with Drummy, and I actually do have a YouTube channel. However, I don't have enough subscribers right now to actually have a name, but I do have a link tree. I do have a link tree
in the bio
and my Instagram. So if you can actually just go there and subscribe. So I've actually got a lot of content I'm working on and I'm trying to push out, but
yes,
I can't tell you when it's going to come out, but it's heading there. So
do it, brother. Well, this guy, you're a stud, man. We get intense. We also can laugh, but you do great work, man. I know you're part of the Echo UAG program. You're doing some affiliates and ambassadors, you know, programs for a bunch of other guys, and you do really good work. You know, give yourself some credit. I mean, you do great work. I watch everything on Instagram, and I'm like, man, Drummy's kicking butt. Like, I want a fire pit. You know, one of those deals. And so you do a great job, man. So again, thank you for taking the time. Again, in all honesty, guys, I had to reschedule Drummy like twice on one day, and he got bumped. And so I'm really glad that we did this interview, man, because we wrote no notes down, no notes. People are like, what are we going to talk about? I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, the best stuff comes out when we don't plan it, right? And we didn't have one thing written down, and the stuff you talked about, I feel, was super impactful. So, all right, that's it from me, guys. Drummy, again, thank you so much for coming on the show, brother. We appreciate you more than you know. So thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you as well, my man.
You bet, brother. All right, guys. Well, hey, this is another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. If you guys enjoyed it, you guys appreciate it, again, shoot us those ratings and reviews. They mean a ton. And if you guys enjoyed the podcast, share it with a friend, share it with a lawn bro, share it with somebody you guys appreciate out there, man. And I appreciate you guys getting the word out there. This thing is growing organically, and we're making a huge impact out there. So we appreciate you guys big time.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.